this question's been on my mind for a while now, and I feel like a lot of people can relate. I actually am re-recording this video because I was going to make this about why I can't leave my home state of California, but I decided to re-record it because I don't know if that is going to be the case forever. Like, it was a video where I make a lot of claims, but I'm like, I don't really know what I'm going to be thinking in 5 years. And I feel like I wanted to take a little step back and just discuss why it is so difficult to leave what's familiar, I guess, basically. Sometimes when you even know that you could have a better situation somewhere else, whether that be in a different state or a different country or whatever, different territory, it's still so hard to get rid of what you know. And I'm realizing that it for sure is harder when you get older. It almost becomes impossible. I wish I could create a chart. When you're a kid, I mean, dang, you're kind of just going wherever your parents take you to, right? Then I think it gets harder in middle school, a little bit harder in high school, because you don't want to leave your friends. Sometimes people still do it, but it gets a little bit harder. When my hand goes down, I'm saying it's getting harder. I think it gets easier again. You have a small window of time here, still relatively early in your life, where you can leave after high school or like in college, whether you go to college or whether you like join the military or something like that. When you turn 18, you have this small window of time where you can leave what's familiar to you. You can leave your state or even your city, and you probably can. You can probably adapt. You could probably evolve. So 18 to like maybe every year that follows, like maybe you take like a gap year, or maybe you just kind of do nothing after high school for like a year or two, which I don't think is a terrible idea. Sometimes I think it's a good thing for some people. But you have a small window of time between like 18 to like 22, 23, whenever you graduate college. If you graduate college and decide, okay, I'm going to go move to a certain city or a certain country for like a job opportunity, that's about it. That's your window of time. You have kind of after high school to like right after college. Maybe you take like a year after college, but then every year after that, as you enter like your late 20s, it gets harder and harder to be able to leave what's familiar to you, to start over, because that's essentially what you're doing. Is you're starting over, whether it's your birth state or the place that you were raised. And I'm talking about this because I can't really do it. I've been considering it for so long, for 5 years now at least, maybe. I mean, it's funny because it's not even really discussing, I'm not even really considering going someplace far. Actually, you can find videos like from 3 years ago where like I considered like Florida. I'm considering like places that are really not even like, I live in LA. Just moving to Nevada would save me a lot financially. It would save me, it's basically just a financial move, to be quite honest, because California is so expensive. Like everything is so expensive. But I can't find myself to do it. And I think a lot of Californians in general are asking themselves this question, especially because there are more Californians than ever that are leaving. In fact, in 2020, we had 55 electoral votes in the presidential election. We're now going down to 54 because we have lost a significant amount of voting population. So people are leaving, but there's also a lot of people that aren't leaving. I'm sure everyone in California, like maybe not everyone, but half of people consider it. And I'm in a very unique situation too, because the reason why I framed it where you have time after high school and you have time after college is you don't necessarily have like a job lined up specifically yet, or you probably don't. I'm in a similar situation where I could do my job. I can make YouTube videos pretty much from anywhere. And because so many people work remote, they can kind of go where they want. Even with that said, everyone finds it difficult to do. Obviously, if you have like a family, then you're kind of in trouble. It makes things a lot harder. I do not. So, I mean, I don't have my own family. I have a family, of course, but there's really nothing holding me back except for like what's familiar, that familiarity, which I think probably plagues the vast majority of population, which is why so many people grow up in their town and they just stay in their town and they die in their town, because It's just comfortable. The thing that kind of worries me, like maybe I would have done it if I wasn't so lucky in a way. Like I've been very lucky to be able to travel, and I've found so many places that I really enjoy visiting around the world. But that's the key word. I enjoy visiting. I wouldn't want to live there permanently. I definitely like played around with that idea, but when I got to travel to Spain like 3 months ago, not 3 months ago, for 3 months, this was like 6 months ago. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it helped me realize like, oh, I don't want to do this. I would not want to actually just live here by myself without my friends and family. That would be really not fun, and that would not be easy. That's why, like, it's funny because the thing that would allow people to go and travel someplace else, like if they're working like a remote job, is also the same thing that could make it very difficult. You have like, there's all these YouTube channels now that I'm like watching about people that whatever their main job is like YouTube, or they just work remote. They have a different job and they're traveling. They have very special personalities. I don't know if I have those personalities anymore, where that personality to be able to just meet new people. I'm not super good at like, boom, latching on if I were to, move to someplace else. And it doesn't even need to be halfway across the world like Europe. It could just be like San Francisco. I wouldn't even move to San Francisco. Like even that, it's only a 6-hour drive from LA to San Francisco. I wouldn't even consider doing that. Like that's like a little bit crazy to me. So I wonder if there's like an innate human thing here, an innate human, I don't even know what to call it, to not move too far away from the place. Oh, you know what? That reminds me of some sort of statistic that like most people like die within 50 miles or something of their birthplace. Maybe that's just like Americans, or maybe that's worldwide. I don't really know. I am not going to be part of that statistic because I was born in Alabama and I don't remember any of it, but it's really where you were raised, I think, is the key factor here. I think a lot of other people are asking this question right now too, because with inflation so high and with like cities becoming more and more expensive, I'm sure like every place around the world, people are considering this. Like there's definitely cheaper styles of living in other areas, but is it worth it? You know what I mean? I think the vast majority of people will probably just stay. There are people that are leaving the city. I'm thinking New York specifically because New York is super expensive, that sort of lifestyle. So I'm thinking everyone's probably considering this right now because every country in the world is dealing with like massive inflation. To finish off with what I was talking about though, I think there is one more time in a person's life where it does become easier to be able to leave what you know, and that's when you retire. I think that you have like like if there was a chart and when you're like a kid, it's like up, you have like a very good chance that you'll be fine if you move from where you were born or whatever, where you were raised. And then it goes down in middle school and high school. It goes back up for college. Then it goes way down for like a long time, like from your 20s, especially your 30s, your 40s, because you probably have a family or you're probably just more established or you have a job. And then around your 50s, probably late 50s, I would assume it probably ticks back up, especially around retirement age, early 60s, mid 60s. And every year after that, it probably gets, retired people move to Florida all the time. That's like a perfect example, especially from like the East Coast of the U.S., like New England or New York, that whole area. And then they move down to Florida when they're wanting to retire. So there's probably another last leg for you to be able to experience something else. And it's probably better to even do that because you don't always want to be living in an expensive city if you are retired and you now have a nest egg that you want to stretch out for as long as possible. So that's probably the other thing to consider. Anyways, I wanted to re-record this video because, like I said in the very beginning, I don't know how true that is going to be. I was going to title a video, I ended up deleting it, like why I can't leave California, but I'm not exactly sure if that is going to be the case forever. I feel like it's possible that I do. I'm currently recording this video in Mexico right now. Not that I'm going to move to Mexico, but I do like traveling and experiencing things like that. So I don't know. It's hard to say what would happen in 2 or 3 years. I think it's unlikely. Like I said, Vegas was the most reasonable option to me, and even though it's only like a 4-hour drive away, even that's just like, ugh. That's probably the most likely, but at the same time, it's probably the most likely, but at the same time, it still seems very unlikely overall that I would make that choice. But who knows? Because there's clearly a reason why I had to re-record this video, so maybe it is possible one day. It's just got to make more sense to me, and I'm sure it has to make sense to more people. So I think definitely traveling helps you get a bit more of that perspective on if you can, because some people do have that personality. Some people can start someplace new, and whatever. I think part of the reason why I'm talking about this is because I see people all the time talking about like Americans who like went as far as revoked their American citizenship so they can like become a citizen. And where's that place there's plenty of places that allow you just to buy citizenship. They're usually smaller countries in Asia, and definitely smaller places in Europe. I think you can just buy citizenship, and there are Americans that are doing that. There's even Americans that are choosing to stay American, but not be, what is it even called? A registered voter. If you move to Puerto Rico, you can revoke your citizenship and become a resident of Puerto Rico. You're still an American, but you can't vote, and you're now just part of that territory. So it gets a lot more complicated. So anyways, that's why this topic's always on my mind, because I deal with travel a lot. I deal with countries around the world. So it's always in my mind. But even for me, it's like, this seems like an impossible task. But what do you think? Let me know down below. See you next time.